Welcome into the Friday edition of Studio 12, presented by Alpha Graphics. Live from the south end zone of Kyle Field. Matt and Will with you. And, Will, you got to be on your game today. We got the two-time reigning SEC Coach of the Year with us here. And so he doesn't put up with any shenanigans, doesn't put up with any subpar performances, anything like that. So you got to bring your A game.
You know, Coach Denton knows I don't go all out at any time. So he's used to it.
He's been at 9 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, he knows it. He knows the level I'm on, and he knows it's not changing.
He's been around you long enough to figure it out.
There's no raising of my game.
You're at the pinnacle all the time.
I like to think so.
Well, Steve Denton, men's tennis coach, with us here to kick off the show. The Aggies start the 2016 season Sunday with a pair of matches at the Mitchell Tennis Center. Coach, just first off, congrats on the success of the program, just big picture. You know, you guys have been doing great things for a while now, but last year, pretty special season for you, and by all accounts, the team you've got coming back here in 2016 and the pieces you've added, it could make on paper for a pretty special season for you.
It can. I mean, we had a great year last year. You know, that's over, and we enjoyed that. And I think we've got a really good team. We've got a really good combination of experienced players. You know, Harrison Adams, Jackson Withrow, Shane Vincent as seniors. Max Lunkin's a junior now, and then we've got some younger players that have really stepped up. Arthur Rindernesh especially had the best fall of any Aggie that we've had since we've been here, currently ranked number 5 in the country, and, you know, kind of being called the Beast of the East because he's a big guy and he moves well, and he's played really well. And so it'll be real interesting to see how he handles it. You know, sometimes guys play well in the fall, you know, that doesn't really matter. What matters is now when the lights come on, so we'll be interested to see how that all plays out.
And with those guys that return, this time of year, is there always talk of upholding a tradition? Because of the NCAA tournament, the Aggies are a regular in it. And really, it's common to see you guys advance well into the bracket, not just make the NCAA tournament. When you think of guys returning, speaking to guys coming in, is there talk of upholding a tradition here, that winning tradition that's always been on the court with men's tennis?
Well, I think so. And if it's not talked about amongst the players, it's certainly talked about by us. Mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things we talk about early in the year is, you know, for younger players when older players leave the team, they need to leave this place better than when they got here. Mm-hmm. And then the younger players have to buy into that. And I think they understand that. We make it abundantly clear. My coach used to tell me you got to tell them, and then you got to tell them, and then you got to tell them that you told them. So a little inculcation there. So we repeat ourselves a few times. Maybe that's because we're getting a little older. We repeat. But in addition to that, it's also because we want these guys to get it. You know, tennis is an individual sport, and to bring these guys in, they come from all different cultures, from all over the world, to bring them in and kind of mesh them as a team is a pretty tough dynamic. And, you know, as early as we can get them here, as soon as we can kind of begin to preach that message, you know, the better chance we got to, you know, for them to execute that. And we've done a pretty good job. Our guys, our senior leadership, our older guys have really done a good job of mentoring these young players.
You talked about that winning tradition and building off of that. And I know you said last year is over, but if you look back just a little bit one last time, how special was 2015? To win a league, both regular season and tournament, in the power like the SEC, I mean, there can't be really any leagues better than the depth that you see for you guys to do that and then to make the run you did in the postseason.
Well, you know, it was a great season. Our guys, we had a lot of firsts. We beat the number 1 team in the country, Oklahoma. We kind of caught them right after they'd won the national indoors, so it was kind of a perfect storm for us. I think they were a little better team than us. If we'd have played them 10 times, they'd have probably beaten us 7 or 8 times. But we caught them. We caught them on a windy night here, and they just won. And so that was a first for us to do that. And then, of course, we got to the quarterfinals, which was a good run for us as well. We beat Ohio State indoors in Dallas under a lot of adversity, which they're an indoor team in the round of 16. So we, you know, the way we culminated the SEC tournament with Jeremy Efferding finishing off when we were down 3-2 to Georgia, things were looking bleak, and then we had that long delay because of the weather, and the way our guys came back out and played at the end of that match. Actually, we weren't down 3-2, but it looked like we were going to be down. And our guys came back and played so well there at the end. So, it was a great season. Our guys, battled hard. With Harrison Adams not having a good performance by his standard, and for us to still be able to make that run, for us not to have Jackson Withrow because he was still injured last year, for us to be able to do those things was a real testament to how hard those guys worked, and it all came together for them, and they played well. The unfortunate part about it is you're only kind of remembered by your last performance. We had a pretty subpar performance against Virginia in the quarterfinals. They were the best team, clearly, but I would have liked to have seen us at our best to see what that match would have looked like. And so that left a little bitter taste in my mouth. I guess maybe that was good motivation to kind of begin the new season. And I know the guys didn't like it either. And so I think this team remembers that. They remembered the good. But, we've got a lot of work to do here if we're going to be successful this year.
Steve Denton, Aggie men's tennis head coach, joining us on this Friday edition of Studio 12. And now that you get this season rolling, Sunday's first serve to all of it. You got a doubleheader out there. UTSA at noon. Lamar is a 4 p.m. match. Mitchell Tennis Center, the site. A poll within the SEC was released, and I don't. This is more for fans. I think we all know that coaches don't dive into it too hard. But the Aggies picked third in the Southeastern Conference behind Georgia and Florida. Do you take a gander at these things just briefly before you get right back to work on the real business and getting the guys ready for the season?
Well, I mean, it's a coaches voting poll, so we all vote, and I voted us to be number one, and so we'll see. I mean, there were some things that happened at the end of the fall that maybe some of these other coaches didn't really look at too closely. One, we play both Georgia and Florida here, and we've been really rough here in the last 3 years. I mean, it's hard to beat us here. Two, Harrison Adams didn't play this fall, and he's starting to play some ball again. I think if we get the Harrison Adams of 2 years ago, then that's going to make us really tough. He's a great doubles player already, so he and Shane Vincent will be a great doubles team. They come in as the top 10 team from last year, which means a few teams graduated, so they should come in, even though they're unranked right now, they will be one of the top 5 teams in the country. And then you throw in the fact that we got Jackson Withrow back for another year because of a medical situation. He hadn't played in 3 semesters. He had 3 operations, and he's playing very well. And he was the number 1 doubles player in the country 2 years ago with Juniore. And so you put those two things in, along with Arthur playing much better, Shane playing much better. We've got a lot of depth. We've got really good doubles. We don't have any holes in our lineup, and I think our guys are really hungry. So we'll see. I mean, my living, I guess I'm not a very smart person. My living is dependent on 18 to 21-year-old boys. and I'm hopeful that they're going to be men soon. People always ask me, well, how are you doing? I said, well, I'll tell you in about 20 years. I mean, it's got how they turn out as people, as men. But these guys have really worked hard. We've had 10 unbelievable days of practice. The weather's been great. We kind of roll the dice sometimes when we practice here in the wintertime. And we've had, good weather to be able to practice twice a day. They've been beating up on each other. They're tired of that. They're beat up. We've worked them really hard, and now they're excited about the season to get kicked off.
And, Coach, we were talking a little bit before the break about polls. We were talking a little bit before the break about SEC championships and stuff. I wanted to ask you this because I like to ask people now this is year 4, I believe, in the SEC. I'm not good at math, so I have to write this down on my fingers.
That's not math. That's just counting.
Counting?
I mean, yeah.
Well, I'm not good at that either.
Count or you can't.
Yeah. Well, then we go. You'll have to have your daughter, your 2-year-old, help me with this. So, are you starting to see, or have there already been some rivalries developing on the tennis courts between you guys and some specific teams? Because I feel like that's got to take a little bit of time to develop, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, the natural rivalry was going to be with Georgia. I mean, they have been the premier team in this league for a long, long time. Manny Diaz does an unbelievable job. The Hall of Fame for men's tennis is there in Athens. It's, hosts the NCAA numerous times. In fact, when I was playing college tennis, it was there every year. And so there's an inherent advantage that they have in that regard because they have a lot of tradition and history. And we've come in now. We're the kind of new kid on the block, and we've pushed back a little bit. They've kind of dominated this league for a while, and we've come in and at least held our own. We've held serve at home in a way. I mean, we've won here. They've won in Athens, and they're a really, really good team, and we enjoy competing against them. Florida's another one. Brian Shelton, who won the NCAA championship on the women's side at Georgia Tech, and then took over the Florida job. Obviously they're a really good program. And then in the West, we've Mississippi State have always been, really good, and LSU as well. So, we've had some rivalries already, and it doesn't take very long to get that fire going. We still miss playing Texas. I'll put that out there for our new athletic director, our president. I think that game belongs to the state of Texas. It doesn't belong to people that get upset with each other. Yeah. And that gets people's blood boiling is when we get to play Texas. So I'm hopeful that we get to start that rivalry again sometime in the future. It has nothing to do with the fact that I played over there.
No factor at all.
No factor at all. People have accused me of wearing Longhorn underwear, but that's ridiculous at this point. I mean, my guys are here, and I'm excited, but at the same time, I'd love to see that rivalry, start up again, because it really does make a big difference. I think to our fans, they care about that in all the sports. Yeah. But rivalries over there, definitely Georgia and Florida have kind of been the two. Tennessee was the premier team kind of when we came in the league. They've kind of dropped off a little bit in the last couple of years, but I anticipate them being back in that as well.
You mentioned Georgia several times. Will's going to make his first significant trek to Athens this afternoon with the men's basketball team. So I told him it's a great college town. It's a fun place to go.
It is. It's a really great college town. The NCAA tournament's been there many times, and it's an awesome place to be. And they do a great job. It's a unique place, and the fans are obviously, barking at you and stuff. But at the same time, they're a friendly group, and they're fair, and their hospitality as Southern people, they do a great job there.
But you've got a unique and fun environment over here too at the Mitchell Tennis Center. With you get consistently solid and strong crowds. You've got that nice stadium club down at the bottom there, and with the weather that you get most of the time in the spring, not many better things than to go sit up there on a beautiful evening or a beautiful afternoon in the sun and watch some really good tennis up there.
Well, it is. It's a great environment. Mr. Mitchell, when he was here, did a great service. Tim Cass got that started and started that stadium club. Did a lot of wonderful things to get us where we are at present. Owe him a lot of gratitude for the things that he was kind of a pioneer in that regard, and really got this program up to speed to be a national power. And Bob McKinley and we've kind of taken it upon ourselves to ensure that it continued. One of the things that we talk about to each other all the time is that if, both Bob and I had great college experiences. It was the best time in my tennis career, even though we both played pro tennis. And we want to ensure that our kids have that same type of experience that we had when we were in college.
Coach Denton and the Aggies get their season started on Sunday with a doubleheader. It's UTSA at noon, and then at 4 o'clock at the Mitchell Center, the Aggies take on Lamar. Coach, in all your years of doing this, for match number one, for opening day, do you ever spell some things out that you want to see? If you throw the score aside, obviously you want to win Sunday, but when you throw the score out, when you leave the Mitchell Center on Sunday, do you kind of say, I'll be pleased with my team if I saw this on opening day?
Yeah, I mean, I do it a little bit, maybe not as a team, but I do it as the individuals. If I see two or three things that I see these guys that we've been really working on, that I see them accomplish out there on the court, whether it be attitude, whether it be, better footwork, whether it be whatever. I mean, a higher percentage of first serves. I have some things in mind for all these guys. And, of course, when we play teams like this, it's dangerous for us because, we do play most of our lineup, if not all of our lineup. And these teams have played, they're playing all the time. Some of our guys are not getting to play on a regular basis. So we get a chance to look at our depth, look at our young players, and kind of help them. They work really hard in practice and deserve the opportunity. Tennis is a unique sport in that in a basketball or football setting, you can put a kid in for 10 minutes and then take them out, And you can't do that in tennis. You leave them out there the whole time, and you suffer through the whole match with them if they get nervous or if they are not capable of handling the situation that they're in against maybe a more experienced player from the other team. And so from that standpoint, it's a little, worrisome for us to put them out there, but at the same time, they need that experience, and they're here to get better, and you really don't get better unless you compete. And we're playing a lot of double headers. Bob McKinley, I'm going to have a lump in my throat this year. Bob McKinley, who's been with me for 10 years, is hanging it up after this season.
Really?
And so that's going to be really hard for me. But he's put on us about 9 doubleheaders this year, so he's going to put about 10 years on me, having to play all these matches. I already see some coming down the road. We're playing 2 really good teams on the same day, and, our guys are going to have to step up. Some of them are going to have to play twice, for us to be able to be successful. It's a great opportunity for our young players, and we really look forward to having to see get this started on the right foot, hopefully, and seeing our players kind of develop and try to get better as the season goes on.
Also, I wanted to ask you, last season college tennis did some tinkering with the scoring, hoping to make it much more fan-friendly, things like that. How did that go? What was your feedback on every now and then you saw some different scoring in matches?
Yeah, you did. I mean, it created more parity because the theory is if you play a Grand Slam tournament, you play 3 out of 5 sets. You play regular scoring, and the match lasts, 4 hours to 4 days, that the best player should win. As you shorten the format and as you begin to make in our point system basically to 4, you play each game to 4 points, and at 3-3 you play a 1 point to decide who wins that game. Obviously some things can happen, a net cord or lucky shot or just people getting nervous because it's an important point. You don't have any leeway there. It creates more parity, and it's exciting for the fans. I think it's good for the players in that every point is kind of a key point. You can't take points off. For example, if you got a guy that, gives 2 points away a game and you're playing to 4, that's pretty tough to hold. That's pretty tough to win that game. The other guy has something to say about it. So it's created some issues there. Not only that, but we're playing doubles, no ad scoring, a set instead of playing it to 8. So everything's a lot faster. It's a sprint. You have to get off to a fast start. You can't make, dumb mistakes. You have to really focus and dial in, and it's created that atmosphere. But at the same time, the matches are shorter. It's easier for the fans to understand. I don't know that it brings any more fans out, which was kind of the premise for it. We'll see whether that happens in the future. The matches are closer, and the kids are under more stress. The difference is will the young players that want to play professional tennis in the future, will this format help them to prepare for that since it is shorter in distance? We did it when I was in college, and it's kind of like going to the library. If you go to the library, can you study an hour without having to get up and sharpen your pencil and go to the bathroom and get a drink of water? As a pro tennis player, you got to be able to focus for maybe 3-4 hours. So you have to extend your time of concentration, and that happens. And then obviously your fitness is an issue as well because the matches are much longer. You have to do that also.
I'm seeing none of this that we would be good at, Will. This focus part, the intensity, the getting better. I think we'll have to stay away from.
It's a good sport. It's a sport of a lifetime. You guys, there's still time. I mean. I don't see any gray hair.
Do you have
either
athletic
side of either to the right or the left? There's no gray hair. I don't see any major limping issues.
Do you have athletic trainers and or EMTs on site?
We do.
Okay.
Actually.
All right.
As long as they're ready.
And I could possibly resuscitate you as well. I know that's not probably a very pleasant experience from your from your standpoint. You know,
Did
that
you-
may scare you away.
Did you do any tennis when you did the
Yeah,
Where There's a Will
we
segments?
used to do a
Yeah.
Where There's a Will segment on our old TV show. Where
you
I
did?
would go out with an athlete and try to do something in their sport. I don't know if you remember the name Nikki Meacham, who played
I
for the
do.
women's tennis
Played,
team here.
she's
Yeah.
from Fredericksburg.
She is.
She had the record, I believe, for the most wins for a while. Maybe she won more matches than any other Aggie player.
Yeah.
I remember her well.
Yeah, and the goal for me was to return one of her 10 serves.
Did you
10 times she
return it
served
into the
This was-
lines or return
of
it
all
over
the-
the net?
No, it had to go over the net in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't play out the point. And that obviously would have been a disaster for me. I just had to return it and make one in.
Were you able to do
It was
that?
the most glorious moment of that segment we ever had. she went 9 aces on
Yeah.
me. Just
9
blew
aces?
it right past me.
Wow, were you blindfolded?
10th one, I closed my eyes and swung and returned it right past her.
Well, I
The
mean,
last one.
I don't want to burst your bubble. I mean, I really don't want to burst your bubble or anything, but really, Nikki wasn't known for her serve.
No, and then she began the segment by stating that.
I mean, did
She's
she
like,
actually
I'm not
did
a
she
hard
serve underhanded, or was she
No,
serving?
she literally started the segment by saying, "I am not a hard server here."
Right,
So,
but she was very accurate with her serve.
Oh,
so
yeah.
she can move it around the box, and like I said, somebody maybe with
well, that was the thing. Yeah, she was putting it right on the line, and I had no chance to go over and get it.
Right.
We got to find this tape.
So,
We got to start digging in the archives for
I
this
have a
bad
pretty
boy.
funny story from a long time ago, but I don't know if you remember a guy named Kenneth Sims that was an All-American, played pro football at Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That I had the best serve on our team along with Kevin Kern, and we had at the time we had a deal where you could come out and try to return my serve, and I would try to serve as hard as I could.
Yeah.
And then of course a young girl would come out there, and then I'd maybe bump it over. Kenneth Sims came out there one time, didn't really know how to hold the racket, and he was kind of had his chest out. 300-pound guy that could run. And so he has this racket there, and I served one easy, so he said something to me, So then I hit one really hard right by his ear. It whistled right by his ear. And I spent the next 10 or 15 minutes running around the tennis courts trying to get away from him because he started chasing me. I'm sure that was a pretty funny sight at the time. I think we suspended that kind of,
That was the end of the
try to
game.
return Steve's serve because it was almost kind of try to find Steve, so that he can play.
Oh, I love it.
Anyway, those kind of things are fun and memorable experiences, and I'm happy you were able to get her serve back. That was good.
I think she went easy on me on the 10th one.
You don't have to remember the
I didn't
9
have
you missed.
to.
The
I
one, just the
remember
one
on
you
the
made.
last one,
Yeah, that's
the
right.
10th and last one.
Yeah,
is
so
the
like I
only
said
one
earlier, it's whatever happens last. That's what you remember.
That's right.
Exactly.
I remember on the last one, was the only one I didn't have to move to go get.
Exactly.
I think she just served it at me to give me a chance.
I love it. I love it.
Coach, we appreciate the time. Sunday it all gets started, noon, UTSA, 4 o'clock, Lamar, Mitchell Center. All the best this season. We'll talk to you more as it continues.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.